All right, moving along, what's going on right this moment. McCarthy is surely speaking behind closed doors with both his supporters and his opponents to reach a deal. Again, that's after 5 rounds of voting today. Now, last night, McCarthy did offer his caucus further concessions from what he indicated over the weekend. According to Representative Warren Davidson, McCarthy indicated he would make it a priority to restore public access to the Capitol, to place a cap on the spending of suspension bills with at least 5 days of notice before those votes, place limits on leadership reports, and to have more conference meetings ahead of key votes, among other items. Now, but what could be the most notable concession was McCarthy lowered the threshold for a resolution to vacate the chair to 1 member from the majority. And yet that didn't move the needle earlier today. So for a further look inside what has been happening on the floor, away from the mics and behind those closed doors, let's welcome in Congressman from Florida, Greg Steube. Congressman, great to see you tonight. I know it's been a long several days for you all there.
You too.
Talk to us about what the American people are watching right now. We watch these votes take place. We see out there on the floor and between votes having a lot of conversations, some across the aisle, some with one another, some who are voting for McCarthy and others who are voting otherwise. What are those conversations? How are they going? What are you hearing? And where is this headed?
Yeah, the conversations were obviously with the 20, and what's interesting is with those 20, they've changed from originally they voted for Biggs, and then they voted for Jordan, who was supporting McCarthy, and then they voted for Donalds, and now they're voting for Hearn, who also is supporting McCarthy. So those conversations are with pretty much everybody in the conference on both sides, trying to figure out what the resolution and the sticking points are. I'm hearing from a number of different colleagues that there's been some breakthroughs. The rumor is we might have a conference meeting in the morning, that there's a large group of the 20 that have made agreements on these rule issues, that some of which you alluded to, and that now that McCarthy has agreed to a lot of those, there's a large block of those that are willing to come over. How many, I don't know exactly, but I think we're hearing from 10 to 12. And if that happens tomorrow at noon, when we first do our first series of rounds of votes, where there's a significant block of the 20 that comes over to Kevin, that's going to put a significant amount of pressure on 1 or 2 members, because he can lose 4 or 5, depending on the amount of people that are in the chamber, because it's the amount of people present and voting. So that's kind of where we are right now. I'm frustrated. I think the American people are frustrated that this has taken so long. But I do think the process, the democratic process, is working, because there's getting a lot of things that the other side wants to move this thing forward in the next couple of days.
Well, you know, it still takes only 5 members to derail a deal for McCarthy, of course. I mean, if this doesn't work and this keeps going on, I mean, is there any consideration at all to strike a deal with the Democrats to end the voting?
Well, I certainly wouldn't, and conservatives certainly wouldn't, but that wouldn't stop the more moderate members who are in Democratic districts. I mean, think how dangerous this is. You could have 5 moderate Republicans go over to the Democrats and work out some coalition government where it's half R, half D. And if they were to swing over and vote with the Democrats, we could have basically a Democratic speaker or a Republican speaker in name only, where they give Democrats a ton of power. That's how dangerous all this is. And I know that that has been conveyed to some of the 20 about how dangerous this is, that we are walking down the path that maybe some of these more moderate Republicans are going to just get fed up that are in Democratic districts and move over and start having conversations with the Democrats. I don't think we're there and having conversations with some of those, but hopefully those 20 will realize that that is a very significant possibility of happening. It would be horrible for the country. Kevin McCarthy has laid out his commitment to America, which all of us signed on to. You can't say that anything in there is not conservative. President Trump is endorsing him. I'm supporting him. Jim Jordan is supporting him. Nobody can look at my record. I probably have one of the most conservative records in the conference, and I feel very comfortable with what Kevin is going to do when he gets the gavel, the investigations that we're going to do, the policy bills that we're going to bring up. Look at what Scalise is saying we're going to bring up in the first couple of days once we get all this over with for the American people. Defunding the 87,000 IRS agents, going after immigration and naturalization, all the investigations that we want to do. But we can't do any of that until this is resolved and we can move forward for the American people.
Well, let me ask you this, Congressman. Obviously, the majority have the support. They support Kevin McCarthy. You've got the 20 who really seem to have their heels stuck in the mud, that they're not budging. Is there an alternate name even emerging that you feel could be a potential second name that could have everybody behind them, or is it still 100% on Kevin McCarthy?
Well, as of right now, he hasn't lost any. And I would say this. I mean, we live in a democratic republic where we respect the majority in institutions. And we had a conference meeting. We had two people nominated, Kevin McCarthy and Andy Biggs. Kevin McCarthy got 188 to 31 votes. It's time for us to come around who we've nominated, who the mass majority, 90% of our conference has nominated, so we can move forward and do the work for the American people. Since when does 10% of any organization, any government, any people, any state, any county, any government get to govern the 90%? That's not how it works in a democratic republic. It's time for us to settle our differences, work together, and move forward to fight for the American people.
All right, Congressman Steube of the great state of Florida, I appreciate you staying up with us tonight. Great to see you.
Yep, great to see you.